When they're pushed in, you'll see here in a second, we'll probably roll. No, we're not on enough of a hill, but right now there is nothing holding the truck and trailer from moving because they're released, pushed in, however you want to say it. The technical term is released, set. So if you set your brakes, they're active. If you release them, they're not active anymore. So just keep that in mind. Tractor, trailer. What we're going to do right now is we're just going to go through and make sure both of these are working individually. Because if you do, let's say I want to test this one, if I don't have this one not set, I don't know which one I'm testing technically. So the way we do this is you tell them I'm now going to do a tractor spring brake test. I'm going to push in my trailer valve, make sure my tractor valve is set. I'm going to put the vehicle into drive. I'm going to give it some fuel. You should feel a slight tug. The tug is going to be the tractor brakes working. If we didn't feel a tug, we would roll forward, we would know these aren't working. So it's in drive. I just give it a little bit of fuel, enough to kind of torque it. Tractor brakes are working properly. I'm going to now test my trailer brakes. Push in my tractor brakes, set my trailer brakes, make sure my tractor brake is in. Nice. Make sure my trailer brake is set, tractor brake is in. Same thing. I'm going to make sure the vehicle is in drive. I'm going to give it some fuel. You should feel a slight tug. Trailer brakes are working properly. Once you have both of those done, you're not going to set that. You're going to actually push it in because the next part is the service brake. This brake right here, the actual brake you're using when you stop. So I'm now going to pull forward 3 to 5 feet, approximately 5 miles per hour. I'm going to press firmly on the service brake. I should come to a stop, and my steering wheel should not pull to the left or right. You got to make sure you explain it that way, and also make sure you're still in drive. If you weren't, put it back in drive. So put your both hands on the steering wheel and just pull forward 3 to 5 feet, 5 miles per hour, and pretty firmly just come to a stop. My service brake's working properly, and my steering wheel did not pull to the left or right. You have to say that. If you do not say the steering wheel part, done. Test is over. Or not done, sorry. That point is gone. So this part is going to feel a little weird right now because we are on a hill now. Now we're going to test, you guys just heard that. We're going to test to make sure this part going forward, we have 4 brake tests that we're about to do. What we're doing is we're testing to make sure our air system is working properly. So the way this truck's working, and let me turn this off so it's easier to hear. So if you guys look over here, you have a primary and a secondary air tank in the truck, okay? You have technically one's on the truck and one's on the trailer. These primary and secondary air tanks hold all the air, and as you guys know, you can hear trucks, that's the biggest difference from your cars and getting used to these brakes, is they're all air driven. So when the truck's driving, it's building air into these tanks. You might ask yourself, well, if it's building air, it's got to eventually stop itself or it's going to blow the tank up. Well, that's what the air governor cutoff is. So on your test, after you do your service brake, you're now starting the 4-part brake test, which anything in this 4-part brake test, there's 4 parts. If you mess anything up, it's an auto fail. So the first thing you're going to do, again, I turned the truck off. We don't do that. I'll resume in a second. I just want to explain to you what's actually happening. It makes it easier to remember. We're going to test to make sure that governor cutoff is what keeps the tanks from just keeping pressure built. We're making sure that's working properly. If you did not have a governor cutoff, the vehicle would just keep building pressure and those tanks would explode. So we're making sure that that works. You've probably heard it standing around trucks if you've ever been around them, or just by being here this morning. Every now and then the truck's going to make a little noise. That's what that is. The air is building up. It gets to the point where it's done, which is 120 to 140 psi. For you guys, all you have to memorize is 125 psi. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the vehicle back on and get back to where we were. Once it reaches that, you're going to hear a hissing noise. He was setting his brakes, but it's somewhat like that. So what happens is, these are still in. We just got done with my service brake test. Steering wheel did not pull to the left or right. Service brake's working properly. My vehicle, I'm now going to put it in neutral. These are both still in. you're going to say, I'm now going to build my air pressure up until my air governor cuts off at 125 PSI. You can give it a little bit of fuel. Do not go over 10,000 RPMs. Otherwise, it's extremely hard to hear. And all you're going to do is wait for it to get to the point where you hear it make a hiss noise. When you say 125 PSI, make sure you, this one's pretty quick. My air governor cutoff is working properly, and it cut out at 125 PSI.
So meanwhile, where is this at? The clutch, like, where is it set?
What do you mean?
It's a neutral. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Truck's in neutral right now. Again, whenever you're, even at idle, it's building PSI, but to speed it up, if you don't want to wait, you can give it a little bit of gas. That's why I explain that way. That's what a lot of people like to do, especially when you're out here practicing. You don't want to sit here all day at idle just waiting and waiting. It's way faster when you give it some fuel. The RPMs are moving, it's pumping more air into those tanks. Once you hear it cut off and you hear that hiss noise, you have to say, my air governor cutoff is working properly, and it cut off at 125 PSI. And again, back up a little bit. Let's say I'm going to start again. So let me pump the brakes down a little bit, get it back below. Just got done with my service brake. I'm now going to make sure that my air governor cutoff is working properly. I'm going to build my pressure up to 125 PSI, where you should hear a loud sneeze or a coughing noise. So my air governor cutoff was working properly, and it sounded at 125 PSI. Okay, so you guys will get to practice this over and over and over and over again. Just literally do not stop doing it until your test time. It's going to help you more than anything. I'm not good at testing, never was, but when I went to CO school, I just made sure I did not stop doing it. You're here for a reason. Why not just practice every second? It makes your test way easier. So after that, we're going to now go to our second portion of the 4-part brake test. This is extremely important. You are now going to turn the vehicle off. Make sure your brakes are pushed in, you're in neutral. Turn the vehicle off, then back to the on position. A little cheat code: if you leave your air on the whole time during a test, you'll know you're in the on position, not accessory, if the fan comes on. If the fan doesn't come on, you did not. Some people do that. They'll turn it off all the way and then just do one. Now we're in accessory mode. We have to go to the on position. You'll see all the gauges come on. Also, it's allowing all the lights to be working, which is part of what we're about to be doing. Turn the vehicle to on position. This is stuff that you do not need to be vocalizing out loud right now. You're just doing this part. You're going to turn the vehicle off, back on. I'm now going to do my air brake hold test. I'm going to press firmly on the brakes. I should not lose more than 4 PSI in 1 minute. Mr. Examiner, would you time me? He'll say yes. So you're going to push firmly on the brake. Watch your gauge. He could take you for the full minute. Most of the time they take you for like 10 seconds. He'll say, you're good. I did not lose more than 4 PSI in 1 minute. You have to say it before, you have to say it after. If you mess up the 4 PSI, let's say you say 2 PSI, 6 PSI, that's an auto fail. If you don't put this key to the right position, auto fail. If these brakes are set, not pushed in, auto fail. These are all the small things at this portion of the test you have to be 100% on. So we just got done with the second portion. Now we're going to do the third part of the 4-part brake test, which is testing to make sure your warning devices are working properly. So you'll say, I'm now going to make sure that my low air warning devices are working properly. I'm going to fan my brakes down to 55 PSI or above, where both of my emergency low air warning devices should come on.
What's another way of saying fine? When you say fine their brakes, what's another way of saying it?
Another way?
Yes.
I'm gonna bring my PSI down to 55 PSI or above, but you really just want to get used to it. I'm gonna fan my brakes down because that's what you're gonna do. After you say that, slowly just give one hard stab at a time until the lights come on. Every other truck, besides this one, a buzzer comes on. It'll beep at you. This one just has the lights. And one more. So if you guys look, that one came on, that one came on, and that one came on. So when you are practicing in this truck, which you will sometimes when that one's booked up or whatever, your low air warning devices that came on. So when they come on, my low air warning devices are working properly, and they came on at 55 psi. That's all you got to say, 55 psi. Don't say any other number, and you're good. Now we go to the last portion of the test. You're going to be fanning your brakes down between 20 and 45 psi to make sure your emergency spring brakes are working properly. Real quick, I'll pause there to explain these. So if your PSI keeps dropping, at this point you're being warned that your PSI is dropping, and air is the only way that you can stop yourself, because that's how your brakes work. So if you're on the road and this is happening, your warning is on, it's telling you to stop because your PSI is dropping, you have a cut hose or something. If it continues to drop and you do not stop in time, these are both going to set, and these are your brakes. They're your spring brakes. So if these set while you're driving, every single wheel is going to lock up, and that's going to be a brutal stop. You make sure you get over before that happens. But we're testing to make sure that emergency precaution is working. That's what you're doing at the end. So you say, I'm going to be testing to make sure my emergency spring brakes are working properly. Both of my valves should pop out between 20 and 45 psi. I'm going to fan my brakes down between 20 and 45 psi. And at this point, you go as crazy as you can go with this brake and stare at the valves. Because if you're not staring for a second and you think both of them popped out, one might pop out, one might stay in. And if you say that your test is done, that they both popped out and one's still in, auto fail. So I'm going to start. 1. 2. Both of my spring brakes have popped out at 25 psi. So you're good there. Both spring brakes are working properly. You have to say that they cut off, or they came out at 25 psi. Technically, you can say any number between 20 and 45, but our sheet tells you guys 25. I would just get used to that number and just say that every time, so that whatever you do, just get a number down that works. 25 is the safest, because that's what we teach everyone, and we don't have anyone fail the pre-trip. So do not, one thing real quick, one side note, do not touch these. If you're like, man, I don't think that popped out, and you go grab it to pull it out, done, test's over. So you have to let it come out naturally. At this point, I'm gonna turn it off so you can hear me. Your in-cab inspection is done. You're gonna say, now, Mr. Examiner, would you please exit the vehicle? Go to the front left of the vehicle. I'm going to do an exterior light check. This is when you actually are testing to make sure those lights are working on the outside. When he's out there, window down, you have to yell. He has to hear you. If you just say left turn signal, he's not going to write it down. So he's going to have a clipboard and pen or whatever, and he's going to be giving you a thumbs up. Left turn signal. Give you a thumbs up. Right turn signal. High beams. Headlights. So cycle this off and back on so he knows. Four-way flashers. Please go to the back of the vehicle. Go all the way to the back of the trailer. Left turn signal. Right turn signal. Tail lights. Brake lights. Four-way flashers. And at that point, you'll come back up here, you'll get out, and you'll do the rest of the truck, which is the engine, side of the vehicle, coupling, and trailer.
And we do this part with just the key on accessory.
No, he'll probably tell you to turn it completely off. Yeah, he'll tell, and if he doesn't, turn the vehicle completely so it's not making any noises or anything. Otherwise, they'll just sit here with the fan on and everything. It wouldn't drain the battery in that amount of time.
We're
But
talking
just,
about the outside light test.
yeah, oh no, yeah. So
Yeah,
when you do the outside, on position, so the lights are working. Yep. Otherwise, you'd have to be on. So go ahead, get outside. 3. That's how you get in. So I'm getting out. 1, 2, 3.
So you can use the door.
Yeah.
Oh.
Come out like
Okay.
this, and just hop out, done. That's over. We're really serious. We've had people, we were so upset with them, but did amazing on their test, got done with the road and everything. On their way back, they hop out because they're all excited. Test all that for nothing. Yeah. So, we're in front of the vehicle. We did our lenses. Side of the vehicle, fluid check. So this is your engine compartment. Again, this is all one section right now so far. Front of the vehicle, section A. This is, you can test on this all together. Fluid levels. My oil level, well, we'll do that over there because we're over here first. Coolant level is between hot and cold, or cold and hot, between add and full, and my cap is present and tight, not missing. That's all you have to say for the coolant reservoir. You got to make sure you know that is the coolant reservoir. On your test, they do not have these. You need to point directly at what you're talking about, not all the way back here. You know, get as close as you can, but do not touch it, because if you touch it, you have to touch everything on the truck. So, and there's stuff that's back here you're going to see in a second. You don't want to try to touch that. My oil level. So your oil dipstick, oil cap. So your oil dipstick right here. So you'll just point at that. You'll say my oil level on the dipstick is between add and full. That's all you have to say. You just have to say a lot more. That's why I'm going to read exactly off this.
You don't have to pull it?
Nope, you don't have to pull it. You used to have to tell them how you would check it. You would pull it out, wipe it off, put it back in, pull it back out, check, make sure it's between add and full, but you do not have to do that anymore. You just have to say that it's between add and full, and this is where it's at. You got to know where it's at. So
I appreciate you sharing the old way versus the new way.
Yeah, and, well, because regardless, you guys will probably get curious and look stuff up, or you might somehow come across it on YouTube or whatever. Just keep in mind, it's going to be way overdone than this. So I would try to avoid it and just memorize the heck out of this. Okay. Because then it just keeps your brain unclogged. My power steering fluid reservoir. Right here for this truck. Sorry, this one was a little bit hidden. The other one is right here out in the open. This one's labeled nice and clear for you. Power steering fluid. So right here. My power steering fluid reservoir is securely mounted, and the fluid is between add and full. That is all you got to say for this. Okay. Fluid and air leaks. You kind of check this up in the front. They kind of switched it up, but you can do it in the front and right here on your test. Fluid air leaks. I would check for excessive fluid leaks on the ground, under the truck, on the engine, or on the transmission. So you can kind of see the bottom of the engine right here. So just point in this general area. You're making sure there's not a bunch of fluid that just exploded everywhere. And clearly we don't have that issue. We've never had that happen. Cross fingers, it doesn't happen to you, but if there is, they're not going to let you test. It's going to unfortunately be a vehicle failure. Not on you, but it's still a fail. I will check each hose for leaks and each airline for audible leaks. So at that point, you're just doing an overall check. You'll say that as like an overall. You can put your hand like that or whatever. Then you're going to get into more specific stuff. Steering systems. My power steering gearbox right here comes straight off the steering shaft. Right here, power steering gearbox. It's securely mounted and not leaking. The power steering hoses are securely mounted on both ends, not leaking, cut, or damaged. So the hoses right here. These run straight to the power steering fluid reservoir right here. You're making sure that the mounts are secure, they're not cut, torn, or frayed, but all you have to say is on here. As you do this, it's good to get familiar with how these parts work and stuff, because it makes remembering this stuff so much easier. That's why I kind of go into depth on some of this stuff for you guys. My pitman arm right here goes up and down. Pitman arm, drag link. Drag link runs right off the pitman arm all the way over to the tie rod, which is this one that goes towards the wheel. So tie rod, drag link, pitman arm. Okay. They are not bent, broken, or damaged. My castle nut, here's one, here's two. My castle nuts and cotter pins, they all have pins sticking out of them as well. You can see these little pins. Everyone knows what a cotter pin is usually, but castle nut cotter pin, it goes through the bolt, which keeps it from loosening. You got one and two. Make sure you point at both. Are tight and not missing. The linkage sockets right here, right off your steering shaft onto the steering gearbox. Linkage sockets are not worn or loose. All you got to say. Brake lines or hoses and leaks. My brake air line right here Can supply air. It's not audibly leaking or split, cut, or damaged. All fittings are secure. So the actual fitting that goes into the brake chamber, right here, this metal fitting, that's secure. Because if it's not, then that's going to be leaking. Make sure it says, let's see if they took this out. They did. Oh no, they didn't. Make sure on anything holding air that you say it's not audibly leaking, which is like hissing and stuff like that. And trust me, you want to pay attention to that, because that's actually something that's going to happen a lot in your career, because this stuff's around moving parts all the time. Brake contaminants. This one's kind of hard to point out, but the inside of this wheel, truck to use for this. The inside of this wheel is your brake lining, the outside of the inside of the rim, and your drums. And the drums push out against the lining, just like a drum brake. For some cars, old cars have them, and that's what slows it down. So your brake drums and linings on the inside, you can't see it, so you're gonna be like, kind of, that's how I would do it. Like brake drums and linings are free of contaminants, which is oil, grease, dirt. That's exactly what they list. Those three things. You could get away with saying some other stuff, I guess, but realistically, all they want you to say is it's free of any contaminants, which could be all kinds of stuff. Tires. My steer tires have a minimum of 4 seconds of tread depth. I would check if I had a tread depth gauge. My drive tires and my tandems, my trailer tires, have 2 30 seconds of minimum tread depth. Okay, that's all you have to say here with your tires. They are evenly worn. Oh, I'm gonna stop here in a second. They're evenly worn, no abrasions, bulges, or cuts. So like on the side, no, you do not want to do anything with this on the road if this thing's got cuts. That's a death wish right there, if this steer tire blows. This is a tester, hold on. You just passed last week. You got to do pictures real quick.
Okay.
You guys can look around, look at that paper if you want.
Okay.
That's thorough. I thought it'd have to be.
Yeah. I'll take it.
Don't even gotta actually pull out the dipstick, check the oil. None of that. You
I
just
will take it.
Yeah, for real.
I just want to at least hear it,
Right.
so I can know what the thorough way is. But yeah.
Right.
Now I would have said, how do I know that's not bent when it's angled like that?
Leaking, the cap is present and tight. If I had a pressure gauge, I would check the pressure. It's 100 psi. If you're curious, you do not have to say that on your test.
We don't have to check it on the test.
Nope. Rims. My rims have no cracks. They're not bent or damaged. There are no aftermarket welds. The lug nut holes are not distorted. Lug nuts. My lug nuts are not missing, not broken. No studs are broken. Studs are the inside. No rust trails or shiny threads that would indicate looseness. So if these back out, you'll see the covered steel of the inside of this lug nut start to show. That's where the shiny metal, and the back side of this rim that's not been shown for a while will be super shiny. That's an indication that these are backing out. Rust trails, there'll be some liquid that's kind of stuck up in behind these over time. If these back out, that will start to kind of drip away, and that's the rust trail. That's what they mean by that. So you're looking for those for indications of that being loose. That's that one section. So from coolant reservoir all the way to lug nuts, it's one section. So if you get confident on that and you can say that to everything back to me exactly like that or close, All we have to see is 85%, 80 to 85% or above on each section, and I mark that in as a pass on your grades. You'll still practice it, but then you can go to skills. So that's what we're looking for. Side of the vehicle, lenses and reflectors. My turn signal right here. My turn signal, not cracked or damaged, proper color of amber and not missing. So this one's a LED, so it don't look like amber right now. If you look at that one, that's amber. That's what we mean by that. Traffic monitoring devices. You got your mirror. The mirror bracket is securely mounted, not broken or damaged. Bracket. The glass, the actual mirror itself, is clean, not cracked, bent, or broken. And when you're up there, you talk about how you don't have to out here, that it's properly adjusted for the driver. Battery, inside here, you pull these two, you don't have to on your test, you will not actually, is your battery box. It's back here. You're just gonna be pointing through like you can see through this when you're talking about the battery. My batteries and my cables are secure, the connections are clean, not corroded. Cables are secure to the battery, not cracked or worn. The battery box and lid are secure. So you can actually see the lid, obviously, and it's secure. So that's actually a good point. But everything else, you're just visualizing that it's inside here and that you know that the battery is inside underneath the steps. Fuel tanks. You got your DEF tank and your diesel tank. Your DEF tank right here, and I'll come back to that. Diesel tank right here. Runs all the way underneath here. Big tanks. My DEF tank. My diesel and DEF tanks are securely mounted. Caps are tight and not leaking from the tank cap or fuel lines. No leaking from this cap or that cap, and the fuel lines. Fuel line on this one is extremely hard to find. I've shown it before. You don't have to really, it's right here. It's right here. The fuel line over here is a better example. Right off the top. Fuel lines. Make sure there's no leaking and that's secure. Frame, tractor frame. Longitude rail is the long steel frame on both sides. Longitude rail and cross members. That's your cross member. Okay, both of those are secure, not cracked, bent, or broken. Okay. That's in that section. Probably the shortest section. Combinations. So now we're doing the coupling, the actual kind of the way this whole thing is connected. And you guys, like I said, learned a little bit about that on your permit tests and stuff. If you remember some of it, it'll make a lot more sense now being next to a truck in person if you do remember any of that. So air and electrical lines and connectors. Glad hands right here. These two, red and blue. You pull these off and put them back on. I'm going to take it all the way off. Inside here is your oil seals. Not oil seals, your glad hand seals, rubber seals, rubber grommets, people call them all kinds of things. Those fade out a lot while you're driving. You're making sure that there's no audible leaking from this and that your seals are intact. You're not going to be pulling this off on your test. Again, you're just, everything on your test you're just pointing at. You don't touch anything besides on the end cap, which obviously you're going to touch your valves and stuff. Not audibly leaking. My electrical plug right up here, the actual plug, is securely mounted, not damaged. My air lines and electrical lines are not cut, torn, tangled, chased, or spliced. So air line 1, air line 2, electrical line. These can be audibly leaking. This one cannot. I don't know. I've never heard of that. Maybe if it's like having a short and it's like fizzing or something, I guess. But you don't have to worry about that being audibly leaking. That's quick. My air lines are not audibly leaking. Fifth wheel skid plate. We'll go over there for a quick second after I do a couple of things here to show you guys more in depth what the fifth wheel looks like broken down. But real quick, so you guys know where you're going to be at when you say this stuff. First, right here in the middle is where you'll be to talk about your fifth wheel skid plate. Right now, this over time has created a little bit of a separation issue. This is not what you want to see. The fifth wheel and the apron of your trailer. See the apron?
Yes.
Big steel part, that is the strongest part of your trailer, apron. Your apron has the kingpin coming off of the center of it, which is a small little shaft that locks in the middle of the fifth wheel. Inside the fifth wheel are locking jaws. So the fifth wheel guides that pin up into the inside of the fifth wheel because it's got two little teeth right here. You can see the little channel that it's guiding. It's right here, the opening. So when you slide up underneath it, it's kind of like a V, and it puts that kingpin in the middle of the V, locking itself around inside of locking jaws. So you have your locking jaws inside the fifth wheel, and you have your kingpin on the apron, okay? You want to talk about your apron is securely mounted. It's not warped. It's not broken or damaged. Your fifth wheel and your apron, there is no daylight. Obviously right now we do have a daylight issue. You're wanting to make sure that the connection is secure and there's no wiggle room between it, no daylight. The locking jaws are securely wrapped around the shank of the kingpin. That's the inside of the fifth wheel I was talking about. That's how it connects. My fifth wheel release arm is securely mounted, not cracked or broken, and it's in the locked position. If you pull it out, that undoes the locking jaws, and then you can pull away from the trailer. My locking pins, you got your 1, 2, 3. So right here is your fifth wheel sliding frame right here. So this slides back and forth if you undo these pins. It allows you to adjust the positioning of the fifth wheel. If these are out in the secure position, they're locked. You'll never touch this in your career, most likely. I've touched it like 3 times in 10 years of driving. Because these are usually where they need to be and they won't move. You're gonna talk about that they are fully extended on both sides in the locked position, okay?
Once again, we're just pointing at all this stuff.
Yes, you're pointing. Yep, and I'm gonna go over here and break it down even more in a second. I just wanted you guys to see exactly where you're gonna be when you're talking about this stuff. You'll come back here to talk about your locking jaws and the kingpin, and making sure that the kingpin, the locking jaws are wrapped around the shank of the kingpin. And you guys will understand that in a second. If you go over there actually real quick, I'll show you guys the kingpin. All right, right here. This is what the kingpin looks like. This is pin. Notice again on this trailer, you got your big piece of steel. This is the apron. So the kingpin is connected. It's basically the apron. They're all one big piece of steel that seems welded like crazy onto this apron. This is the strongest part of the trailer. This is the shank, the thin part, shank of the kingpin. Locking jaws will wrap around this thin part. That way you can't hop the trailer off and out of the locking jaws. Has that little lip that'll keep it from coming out. And then it has the lip above it that'll keep it from just bouncing up and down, smacking the apron. Any questions on the kingpin? Just want to, seeing it helps a ton because then you know what you're talking about. Otherwise, obviously you can't see that when you're on.
You have 2 people who just got their CDLs. The one that's walking towards the instructor, and the woman is about to be filmed for her one and done. Congratulations. And soon for me, one and done. Today is Monday, the 6th of July. The year is 2026. It is 9:48 a.m. This is day one of being in the yard. We will keep the videos coming.
The apron, the kingpin, you'll get to right here. That's the end of that section. You'll start the section with the trailer off with talking about your landing gear and your mud flap, making sure proper distance between the landing gear and the mud flap. What they're saying is if you're too close when you make turns, these things will get caught up on each other. Okay, so you have to explain that there is proper distance between the two. Your landing gear arm, lever, whatever you want to call it, crank handle is secure. So that's all you have to say, or stowed, properly stowed. You don't want to just free hanging. Your pads are not broken. They're properly mounted, secure, not broken. No debris. Your leg is fully raised. That's all you're going to say there. Trailer frame. Longitude rail. Each side of the trailer has the big steel part. And cross members, you look underneath the trailer, there's a million of them. All the way down the trailer. Those are all securely mounted, not cracked, bent, or broken. No legal welds. Right here, the trailer floor. In between each cross member, trailer floor. Most trailers are wood. You're looking for holes. Make sure there's no holes. Secure. It's all securely mounted, not broken, damaged. Your reflective tape, your reflectors, whatever you want to call it, either one's going to work. Proper color of red and white covers 50% of the side of the trailer. Your turn signal, proper color of amber. Lens is securely mounted, not damaged or broken. Back here's your tandem frame. So your tandems, your tandem tires, right here you have one more part, two parts technically. Right here, just like the fifth wheel, you have a tandem release lever. When you pull this, you see these pins, 1 and 2. These pins will go inward, and then you can slide the tandems on the tandem frame. Okay. You're gonna do that a lot in your career. Most of them are these manual ones where you pull the steel bar, you pull the lever. Some of them are air and you just push a button and it releases them, go in the truck, move it, and then you can cycle your trailer brakes, push the red valve in a couple of times and it'll actually activate them back and then they'll pop in wherever they're at. Then you have your sliding pins again right here. You got to make sure you say that they're secure and they're extended on both sides. Okay?
Who determines how far or forward and backward?
Yep, you go to the weigh station, weigh yourself. They'll give you a CAT scale receipt. They'll show you the weight of your trailer axles, which are these axles 1 and 2, your drive axles and your steer axles. You're only allowed to have 12,000 pounds on your steers, 34,000 on your drives, 34,000 on your trailer tandems. So if you have 36,000 on these and you have 28,000 on your drives and you have 10,000 on your steers, that means you're rear heavy. So you need to slide this back, which would then bring the trailer forward, which would then put more weight on your drives. And you have to be legal, otherwise you get pulled over. Each pound you're over, it's a lot. It's a big ticket. So keep that in mind. I've never had to pay it, but so this one does have the ABS light. I don't think it works though, but we say it does.
Right.
Rear of the trailer, DOT tape, reflectors, whatever you want to call it. Covers 100% of the DOT bar, proper color red and white. Reflectors, lenses and reflectors are all, technically on here you'll see this when you guys get your paper. When you get back here, my lenses and reflectors are all securely mounted, not cracked and or broken, in the proper color of red and white. That is all you have to say about the back of the trailer. I'm just kind of breaking it down so you understand what you're saying when you talk about reflectors and lenses or lenses. When the frick did this happen?
Looks like it was borrowed.
Yeah.
Well, it's not a road truck. It hasn't been, so I guess that's fine. Reflectors up there. Those are clearance lights again. Turn signal, brake lights. And then, very end, you come over here and you say, I would now inspect the passenger side of the vehicle the same way I would the driver's side. If you do not say that, technically they can mark all the things you got right, they can mark it wrong as well.
Don't they have to do it? You just gotta say
yeah,
it.
You
Do
just
it
have
on
to
the
say
other
it.
side.
Yep. And that's it. What do you guys think?
Oh my goodness, yes.
Section by section, I'm telling you. Because, like, look, trailer only was only from when I talked about proper clearance of the landing gear. Talked about landing gear a little bit, good there. Trailer frame cross members, Got back to the tandem frame, trailer floor. We got to the tandem frame release lever, locking pins, reflective tape, and then back here, lenses and reflective tape. That's it.
And for the passenger side, you don't have to repeat every step.
No, you're done. Yeah,
Okay.
all you say is, unless, there's no option of you going and doing that. It would stop you.
Okay.
There's
Here's a-
no heckin', there's no chance.
Why they call four-way flashers when I don't see four of them?
That's a good point.
Front
Well,
and back,
actually, you're right. Yeah.
Each corner, probably.
front and back.
Okay.
Yeah, every part of the vehicle all together would be four.
So when
Okay.
we test on this, it's all just one test, even though it's split into sections.
Yeah, here we
Make it a
split it
little
in
easier.
sections. Yep. On your test day, you start from the end cab. You don't stop until you get right here.
What's the overall that you need? What percentage?
I think it's like 70. It's pretty low. Like it's very hard. No one fails it. Unless they
Don't tell me that.
unless they mess up the end cab. We do have those every now and then where they'll freak out, leave the key off, or they'll freak out and they'll have their brakes set and they don't realize, man. But they help you with that on the test. Our examiners are really nice people. You guys will meet, go watch tests. We have some this week. You might even go to. Depends on where you guys are at with PreTrip and if Mike wants to send you. But they tell us to tell you guys their signals to you if you are messing up on your 4-part brake test. Ohio, their examiners all will put their clipboard on the dash when you get to the point where you say, Mr. Examiner, I'm done with the end cab. Would you now go to the front left vehicle to do exterior light check? They'll say, are you sure? Or they'll cross their arms and just sit there. At that point, that's a signal to you. They will not do that if they're good. They will happily get out the truck if they know you're good, because they want you guys to pass.
Give you some hints?
Yeah, they'll give you a hint. At that point, you have to say, Mr. Examiner, can I restart my end cap? Otherwise, you're gonna be done. So, let's see here. What do you guys think?
It's definitely simpler than the way I was thinking.
Yeah.
Simpler.
Don't look online, but if you do look online, you'll realize that it was
Yeah, because I was up.
quadruple what it was.
I was up quite late trying to make sense of what do I need to know.
But I'm gonna go ahead and get you guys your packets. One of you guys can have this one. It's kind of, if you don't mind, it's not horribly beat up, but you can't all your gear to practice. We have a bunch of them in the office, but I would honestly just practice with your hands.
Right.
Make it like a test. This will be your guys' truck. Basically, the rest of the day. I might have to move it.
Okay.
We'll be doing skills in one of these lanes. I'll see what Mike wants to do.
Probably hit the block, but climb up there.
No, I'm struggling with this.
So this is Salud no Catracho. This is day one in the yard. This is 160 Academy, 160 Driving Academy. Today is Monday, the 6th of July. It is 9:59 a.m. And this day one, so that means I'm just primarily just overseeing the components of the truck, so there's no actual driving that me aware of. If it is, I'll update later. Hablar contigo, Suez. Chao pa' ahora.